Hello, everyone, and what a wonderful day this is going to be. We've got Desmond O'Connor here, and trust me, he is the man that makes things move for many a person. Gets them on stage, even though they're shaking like a leaf, and he still makes it happen for them so they can go forward and be positive and achieve the things they need to achieve in their life. Now, I'm speaking too much, as always. I'm going to let him introduce himself and to let us know what is he doing, why he does it, and so on. So, Des, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Oh, let's hear from you. Let's hear where you're coming from.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming along to this interview. My name's Des O'Connor, and I'm the UK's #1 consultant for creating women business leaders and empowering them to speak on stage. So, and I do work with men as well, but mainly women. And I've been doing that now since 2015. It's coming up to nearly 10 years. So I've put, several hundreds of women on stage to share their voice, share their vision, their story, their products, their services, helping them to create a professional video show reel. And, one of the reasons why I decided to do that was because I felt that women were not provided with an opportunity to speak on stage at conferences, the larger conferences. I'm talking like, a couple of hundred people in the room. Plus, it was mainly dominated by men that were not providing women with the opportunity. So I grasped that, saw there was a gap, wanted to share that with women. And one thing about women, if there's something good, and especially on social media, they will share it. And that's what's been happening, not just putting them on stage to speak, but also helping them with other areas of their business, from website design, social media marketing. They want to write a book. I've hosted book launches for people as well. Video marketing. We have professional videographers that even can come to your home to record loads of videos to help you with your brand and their show reels as well. So I have a complete business in a box.
You do.
Which enables women to, they may want a logo, they may want, membership site to record online courses. Everything that encapsulates that, help them with their business as well. So
I see that. Yeah, you really do give value. Obviously, it didn't start with the complete package. I mean, you said that it was a situation you saw a gap in the market when it came to women were actually not getting the respect they needed to, or the opportunities they needed to. So what did you start with? What was the first thing? Now, obviously, the whole package didn't come overnight. So What was the dominant thing that was missing when it came to women? That one thing that you saw?
I think because it's predominantly run by men, and I did speak to a lot of the promoters, and I was getting feedback. Why are you not giving women an opportunity, provide them with an opportunity? Because I started off with relationships. I was working with single women, and I started with dating and relationships. So I had a lot of women speaking on my stages, and I loved working with them. And then I just didn't understand in the business side, it was different. The men would just, even there's a seminar that's happening quite shortly, and I've looked at the speaker lineup, and it's all men again. And fast forward on, there's no men, there's no women on there, and it's the same thing that I've been saying. But all I had to do, what I needed to do, was make a difference and go against the grain. And also, who would have thought I would have been the #1 in the UK when I started this? And that was my goal, to do that, because there's been women that's flown over internationally, America, mainly America, that's flown over. There's a couple of women coming, one from Bermuda and one from America, at my event. So and I noticed that was a big gap there, and I just kept moving on from strength to strength to make sure that happens. My first one was in 2015. I didn't really know what I was doing. To be honest with you, I just put on an event, got about 15 speakers, and they were all speaking, and it was a bit of a shambles, the first one, but the 15th one now, I've sort of honed it in, and how I know exactly how to be, because you learn from your mistakes as you evolve and you grow, and it's been great.
I do like that you've actually spoken about that, because that's how most people learn. They fear taking the first step, and they want it to be perfect. But what we got to understand, and I'm sure you agree, it never is. You know, you think you know perfection, but not until you take the path and you take that road do you learn perfection very fast. You know, and what I've learned is it's best just to get started. And then along the way, as long as you learn from your mistakes, as you've done on number 15, you've mastered your craft, right? And I'm sure you've seen that with other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all part of, it's like anything in life, relationships, business, Brian, but we're talking about this. You know, there's still challenges as always, but I know how to manage that. You know, when you've got 15 speakers, there are going to be challenges. You're dealing with people's personalities, their ego, their triggers, how they want things to be. They're anxious, they're nervous. You don't know what they're experiencing personally in their life as well. So, you know, I know how to manage that. I've been there before. I know how I want the event to run. So yeah, I know what problem's going to occur before it happens, and if it does, I know how to manage that.
And that's experience for you, right? If we just go back just a little bit, because you said before you saw that gap, you was actually working with women as it is. In what capacity was you working? You was helping with psychology, or what was that?
No, I'm not a psychologist. I was a coach. I qualified as a life coach many years ago, and I tapped into the single women's market, dating and relationships. So I was holding dating and relationship conferences all over London and in the West Midlands. I used to do them in Birmingham as well. And what you tend to find is that about 70% of women come to these types of events, and 70% of women take up the population of the self-help personal development books as well. Women are more likely to, unfortunately, you know, invest in themselves. We're the 30%, you know, that do. But it's across the board. So when I was holding my dating and relationship events, you most of you have male friends that wouldn't even think twice about coming to an event like that. And I've got friends like that. However, because it was that type of event, you're going to get the majority of the attendees to be women, and the speakers were predominantly women as well. So I had a first-hand experience of working with women, starting with the relationships, and I loved working with, because you're learning so much from them as well at the same time. You know, we can't have all men on stage, and then there's testosterone and all those other things associated with that, and then you know you don't have women coming in and striking that sort of balance. And I'm still learning up until today. I'm still learning.
Of course, it is a learning curve, right? But I know that you have a skill set working with women, and I can see that going even before the time that you started your business model. Now going back to 2015, but if we go back even further than that, where did the relationship with women come from? Where did the skill set? Were you always friends with women, or was it just a situation you just fell into that, or was there a natural? You just let me know. Can you think back how this relationship with women came? And yeah, I'm going deep here, so don't think you're going to get.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I used to be, my first career, or you know, proper job, I would say, was a driving instructor.
Right.
You know, I was based in South London. I had Desmond O'Connor's driving school. I was on TV quite a few times. If you go
are you that geezer who I saw going past me all those years ago? Maybe so.
Where you? It was in South London.
South London, my South London boy.
Yeah, that was my school.
That almost knocked me over that time.
Must have been one of my crazy pupils. Obviously a man. And I started off with that, very successful. Had about 10 driving instructors working for me. It was going really, really well. Got married, got divorced, lost it all. Painful divorce. The usual battling, she's trying to get as much money as she can and stopping me from seeing my daughter, and I take her to court and all that kind of nonsense. So it was really a challenging time, and that affected my driving school business. I couldn't function. I lost everything. We got married. I got married, moved to Ashford in Kent, had a big wedding, bought a big house. Within a couple of years, we were divorced, and a messy divorce as well. And that took a lot out of me. It affected my confidence. I didn't know what I wanted to do, because I had established business, and I accidentally fell into life coaching. It was around about the time when The Secret came out, 2006, and I studied to be a life coach. I was having therapy at the same time to deal with the divorce, but also the loss of my mother. I lost my mother in 2003. So there was all those, and my dad 2001. So I was still raw. And the divorce itself, for those who've never experienced a divorce, that's a bereavement in itself.
It is.
So there was lots of losses I was dealing with at the same time, but coaching helped me because I qualified as a life coach a few years after the divorce. And I started off to help driving instructors improve their life personally and professionally as a coach.
Wow.
But I accidentally fell into the dating arena because at the time I was helping a company called X Factor Dates that was running their own dating events like speed dating and singles parties, and I was their host, and I was just helping them. At the time I felt very low in confidence. I needed to make some extra money because I lost everything. And I was going along, and then I qualified as a coach in the same time. And a lot of the women that were coming up to me at these events I was running, these are like professional, gorgeous women, the women that, you know, men would like love to date, marry if they wanted to do that. Single. These women were single and they didn't know why they were single. But because I qualified as a coach, I was raw and I was new. I could see that it had nothing to do with the men they were choosing. It all starts with them. But obviously, I'm not going to say that to them. So there was a way of, you know, there's always a way of explaining something. It's such a delicate thing to somebody. So I went back to the MD at the time, Sarah, and I said, Sarah, look, I've just qualified as a coach. There's a lot of women don't know why they're single. Let me run a workshop, a one-off workshop called How to Find the Right Man or something like that. And I can use my life coaching skills in helping them to find. So I modeled and adapted my coaching course, my coaching modules to dating. To dating and how they can increase their chances of finding the right guy. And it went really well, actually. I surprised myself. There was about 100 women in the room. And then after that, there was a demand for another one. And then I was holding, for about, 4 or 5 years, I was holding dating events. A couple of 100 women were coming to see me. And that's how it started. And I didn't bother with the drive. I dabbled with the driving instructors, but this was in need. And I was doing that. I was speaking in America. I was touring America, I was speaking in America, I was holding a lot more events. And then I accidentally, I wouldn't say accidentally, fell into the women empowerment, because what was happening, women were asking me, oh, your website looks good, or your marketing's good, and your branding, can you do our website? Can you do this for us? So I had clients, one-on-one clients that was helping doing that. And then that's when I started doing the dating and relationship conferences and events and stuff. And then that's how I fell into women empowerment. As I explained to you before, about there was a gap. Women weren't, because what happens in the women empowerment industry. If you look around, there's lots of women groups. There's lots of women memberships where they get together, maybe on average 20 to 50 at a time. They come together maybe once a month. And it's usually women that are most probably wives, mothers, single mothers, and this is their outlet of them to get out and connect with other women, which is fine. It's great. It's their little sisterhood thing, which is great. Men are not allowed to usually attend because it's all about the women, and there's a certain energy with women in the room, which is great. However, what happens after that? You know what happens? They come together. What's the next step? So I did my research, and there was nobody providing, because I used to go to a lot of seminars, Eli, when I was younger. I used to go to conferences and seminars, and I'd see the speakers on the stage. I'm like, wow, like, what do I need to do to get on that stage? And I bet a lot of people feel the same way, or they're petrified about going on that stage. And I sat there and I thought, hold on, supposing if I'm feeling this way, a lot of people must be feeling this way. So supposing I was to create the same environment for people to be able to go on that stage, and they don't have to be a millionaire, they don't have to be a superstar. I still class myself as a normal guy, actually, believe it or not. But I wanted to provide an opportunity for people to get that feel of what it's like on a stage with the screen and the lights and the nice backdrop and the people in the room, and they're being videoed and for photographs, and they can have a professional show reel which will enable them to get further speaking engagements, because now they've got professionals. You know, if someone's on stage, the instant perception of that person is they must be an expert. You know, someone's being interviewed on TV, you automatically assume they're going to be an expert, because why else would they not be there? Right. So I was creating that story for people. There's people that have never spoken on stage before, and they've overcome that fear. And once they overcame that, everything else was easier, because that's usually one of the most. And the thing about it is, when they get on there, the fear's gone, because everybody's talking about something that they already know.
Totally. I feel you, because the thing is, I have a fear of going on stage and using my voice and etc., which sounds crazy, but it is. I'm one of those people you're talking about. Let's go right back, because it's amazing how you've skipped from one thing to another. When you got into your divorce, not many people can come and bounce big from that almost straight away. Now, it wasn't almost straight away, because it took you over 1, 2, 3, 4 years. But it can take people far, far longer. When you was going through that turmoil with your divorce and the death and family and so on, and loads of other things going on, what was it that actually made you make that massive push? Instead of going into the dark abyss, you went the opposite way and came up. Was there some kind of was there a third party, a person that was involved? Was there some kind of faith? Was there kind of you're religious or anything like that? What is it that made you go from strength to strength, even though you were being hit left, right, and center? Because I know you haven't discussed everything around about that time. It was an extreme time of pain, and I could see that when you were talking about it. What was it that actually got you out of that hole over time?
That's a very good question. There was a couple of things. One, I was still having therapy with the woman, lovely elderly woman called Beatrice in Saltwood near Canterbury. Hyde, sorry. Okay. And I continued. We was having relationship counselling with her when we got married. So when the divorce happened, I was still in the area. I was still seeing her. So I was still seeing her to cope with what happened, because it was a shock. And the second thing is, I was studying life coaching at the same time. So what my therapist said to me is, most people that go through any form of turmoil, stress, bereavement, all those negative things, if they go therapy, or they may not, or they may find a coach, or they may find a book, or whatever they do to try and overcome that. Yeah. And what I did was, my therapist said the reason why I overcame the pain so quickly is because I was having therapy and I was having life coaching training at the same time. So I was, listen, when anything bad happens in your life, you have a choice. If if I'm going through some stress, there's somebody I can ring that's going to stop. If I want to be told that I'm right, I know there's certain people I can ring to tell me that you're right. So let's use the situations of the relationship. Yeah. I'm in a scenario, I've got a friend I can call. He will tell me honestly if I'm right or wrong. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Honestly, he'll say, look, you're out of order. You shouldn't have done this. It was bad. Right. Yeah, it's like an Andrew Tate.
That's what you need to hear.
It's like an Andrew Tate type of friend, right? And then you get someone else, usually a family member, that will back you no matter what and say, no, she's out of order, you're blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So what happened was that because I was studying the coaching, I couldn't hide at all. Because it always comes back to you. Always comes back to you. Always comes back to you. You know, I was like angry and she made me do this. No, I chose to do that. And then I didn't realize that, you have a choice. You wake up in the morning, you have a choice of how you want to feel. I didn't know. So if me and you were arguing and you said something to me, it upset me, and I punched you in your head or whatever, I've chosen to do that, but same way I can choose to say the opposite, do the opposite. Yeah. And not many people are aware of that. And that's one of the key things that I realized. I tried to imply that. I didn't know about meditating and all those kind of positive things that you can do to what it's all about here.
I hear you.
It's all
No,
about the
you're
mind.
totally right. I mean, most people, I think what the problem is that most people are actually looking for the verification of somebody else. It's their problem, or I mean, I'm not here to make a decision on what's good religion or not, but you know, it's down to God. It's always down to a third party person. But the problem with that. And the problem is, I see a problem with it. It may not be a problem for anybody else, but the problem for me, and this is why I don't think like this, is when you put it in the hands of someone else, you have no power to change it because it's someone else's fault, right? It's God's fault, or it's that person across the road. But as soon as you think of my environment is a reflection of me, the power is in you, and you can do something about it. So you can change on a spindle, the anger, because you've got control. It was down to you. Would you say that's correct?
100%. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not aware of this.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware. I wasn't the best husband, I suppose. The mindset of how I was, I look back and think, wow, that was me. I was that type of person. I'm a totally different person now. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. And I look back and I think, I didn't know about this self-development stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I've got hundreds of books now. Most of them are personal development, and I read every week. But I wasn't aware that this existed. I wish somebody had shown me this in my teens, because I most probably wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes I would have made. I would have made some mistakes, but not some of the big ones.
Yeah.
Because you know, you can identify, you can see things. And I was always blaming you made me do this, you're the wrong. But then, you know, if you keep having failed relationships or you keep having failed jobs, you're the common denominator.
That's right.
You know, it always comes back down to you. And with the relationship side, it's a big thing. As you can see, there's lots of discussions online. People are now speaking out. Men are speaking out a lot more than they never used to speak before, because it was, you know, we was always crowded out by women giving their opinion online. You know, you could never post you know, that's why a lot of men don't comment online, because once a woman starts, she gets triggered by him because it's something her ex did to her, and then she starts blasting him, and then he starts blasting her, then he's been accused of being aggressive and, you know, etc., etc. And then she goes into the victim mode, and then the poor guy's, you know, being trashed on social media for just giving his opinion. And a lot of men do not share their vulnerability online, unfortunately, because the way society has perceived us as men, we need to be strong. We don't share our feelings. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
And it's not just an online thing. It's even, you know, offline. I mean, this is how men are anyway, and this is the difference between men and women. You know, and this is why I like the way that women think, because they're more open and you can discuss things in an open and certain way. And it is a man thing. You just don't discuss certain things. It's that kind of culture, right?
Yeah. And if you get together with, if you get together with a group of men, none of us really share our vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, very rare. I mean, we don't say, you know, I'm feeling this way, or, you know, you never get a bloke crying in front of another bloke. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, unless you know, I have one friend I can do that with, and he's broken down with me because of his stuff. That's different. There's not many out there that he's the only one I can do that.
You're not talking the status quo. Yeah,
no.
It's a rarity. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Right. Okay. So it was those two things that got you through. So it was the situation where you, with the lady, you went through the therapy.
Yeah.
And also going through, and you went through those really, really hard times, and you became successful because of your experience of the negativity you had. If it wasn't for the negativity, you effectively actually wouldn't have got to this stage. Is that correct?
100%. I most probably would have been still a driving instructor, and there's nothing wrong with that. I stopped teaching 15 years ago, or 10, 15 years ago. And I see some of my fellow colleagues still doing it. I see them and I'm like, wow, that would have been me. Not putting them down, by the way. Wow, that would have been me. And I see them when I'm in my car and I say, how you doing? He goes, oh yeah, which is great. That most probably would have been still me, still teaching and doing that. And I believe that things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would ever, one, be a public speaker. but two, putting on conferences the way that I am, and now I'm designing women's shoes, and I'm looking to speak internationally, and lots of other things that's happening as well. I never would have thought that would have happened, and things happen for a reason. I should be angry after what I experienced. Believe me, there's a lot you don't know, but I made that choice. I forgive my ex-wife. If I saw her today, I haven't spoken to her for many years, but if I saw her today, I'd say, hi, how you doing? Like nothing's happened, because I'm in a different place now, and I can't change the past. She's part of my journey. She gave me a beautiful daughter. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for what I experienced. And also, when you go through challenges in your life, one of the key things, this is what helped me as well, one of the key things is you need to be very careful of the conversation you have with yourself, because you need to ask yourself intelligent questions when you're going through something that's really bad. For example, whatever's going on bad in your life, ask yourself this key question: what is good about this situation? Right? Because then your brain is now going to be focusing on the good, right? As opposed to what's bad about the situation, because you'll just be focusing on that. Now, when you've asked yourself the next question, the follow-on with that would be, what have I learned from this? And then the learnings are A, B, C, D. And then you could say to yourself, right, now you're in a positive mindset. The next thing you can ask yourself is, what one small positive step can I do to work towards improving this situation? Now, that's easier said than done, because when you're in that situation where you want to kill someone, it's not easy. However, the first thing is identifying, I'm in that place now. I'm now in that negative place now, and it may mean that you have a mantra written up on your wall somewhere, or as a reminder on your device, or whatever it is. To say, right, okay, I've had some challenges even this last 3-4 weeks. I've had some serious challenges, but I've looked at it, and there were some positives to come out of it. There were. I'd say 3/4 of it has been bad, but I focused, okay, that's quite interesting, and it's forced me to do something different. Instead of just like how it was going to be. So it's all about having that conversation. And this is when I was holding therapy and I was studying the life coaching. When I've qualified as a life coach, I was watching lots of YouTube clips, and I was reading lots of books. So I was reinforcing it. And with self-development, they all say the same thing in a different way. And it always comes back to you. You are the common denominator. If you want things to change in your life, you have to change. And we all know this, but sometimes we need to be told it. Sometimes we need to read it. Sometimes you need to have this imprinted in your brain several times for it to click, because there could be other things going on in your life that's affecting you. You can't be focused on that. And meditating, I've had therapy. I've been having therapy every week for the last year nearly now, and it's enabled me to understand me so much more. And there's always another layer. Therapists always say, when there's one layer of the onion, there's always another layer that
never ending.
Oh, you thought you dealt with this issue. You think, I'm free.
No,
that's it. And then
it gets harder.
It gets harder. Deeper.
And lots of people would think, well, why would I go through that? It gets harder. Well, because you go through growth. That's how you become successful.
And the thing is,
it doesn't mean just successful in business, right? Successful in your relationship.
That's right. And it starts with yourself. And once you understand you, I'm writing a book for single women that's coming out next year. And, the book's going to be getting them to look within themselves and look at why have you chosen these men in your life, the wrong men in your life? Why have you chosen to stay in the wrong relationships? And there's something about them, stems from their childhood, always comes from the childhood, that attracts those types of men. Because in relationships, men and women, we usually see the signs in the first couple of months in there, and we choose to ignore them. For whatever the reason is, we minimize the importance of it.
You're totally right. There's always something there to show. Let me take you back a little, because you said the word forgiveness, and I have an issue where I think that it's a situation you use that a lot in your life, And by doing that, it makes some significant changes. How has that affected your life? When did you first start to use forgiveness as a way of using it generally in your life? What started that process? And how has that affected your life in general going on?
Well, that's a good question. If you don't, with the forgiveness, the first person you need to forgive is yourself. Okay, if you can't forgive yourself, then you can't forgive anybody else. Just like if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else.
Okay.
And I think with me, when I started to attend a lot of these seminars, and I'd hear people go on stage that went through 100 times worse what I experienced, and they've forgiven the person what put them through. And I was like, wow, like if they can do that and get over it, then I can. And and then a lot of the books are reinforcing it, where people have had a lot of bad things happen to them, and they've forgiven that. And I think for me, when I decided to forgive my ex-wife and people around her, it must have been about 5, 6 years ago. 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was still immersed in this self-development. So maybe we got married, and it's really good when you can't remember when you got married, because it's a sign you've moved on the year. If you can just ping off the year and the date, then you know that you're still raw with it. But it was a long while. Well, it was about nearly 18. Yeah, because my daughter's 18 now, so 18, 19. So it was round about then.
Yeah.
And I suppose about 10 years on or so. And after I did a lot of the work, I was carrying a lot of anger with me. And it doesn't serve you, because, I could be focusing on something else. I could be writing a book. I could be writing a course. I could be sending out an email. I could be writing a blog. I could be interviewing somebody. And I mean, like, I'm speaking to you now, which is positive, where I could be speaking to someone and having a negative conversation. So it's all about that, and letting go. And, meditation, I journal and meditate. So I get up in the morning, I don't touch my device. After about an hour, I get up, I meditate, and then I journal after I meditate, and then I start my day, and that's just helping me be, centered and also at peace with myself as well.
Yeah, so having that routine is what helps you to always remember your sequence of things that you need to do to be positive, and to be able to be consistent in the way that you are, in a positive way, right? Yeah. So it's having that process in the morning, during the day, etc., always remembering and centering yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's really beautiful.
Totally right. Yes, because there's people that are going to give you challenges. It's how you choose to react to it. And I've had some challenges with some people, and I just chosen no more. I'm just going to deal with it a different way, not the normal way. I'd most probably will be angry about it, possibly. And what will be, will be. And that's what I'm saying. Whatever's going to happen out of this particular situation, whatever's meant to happen, will happen.
I can see that. No, without a doubt. And I can see your experience. You've poured everything in a pot with all that negative experience, and you've just used it with everyone else. And you're natural when it comes to just helping people, because you've actually lived the pain. Or some of that pain at least. So then when someone comes to you, be a lady or even a man, you've got that empathy. Do you feel that?
Of course. And, on both sides, I can see the woman on the other side, because she likes to speak to me. If she wanted to speak to me about relationships, and I'll be able to advise her from a man's perspective, because unfortunately, we, men and women, we don't study the opposite sex. We don't, and they should introduce that into the schools, about the opposite sex, because then we'll have more of an idea. So when we leave and we go and get married and settled and have relationships, we most probably want to have a lot of failed relationships, some more than others. But then what you're having is you have a lot of people out there that are carrying their stuff, their toxicity, their trauma, and they're being triggered by this person that's triggering them 24/7. And then they think getting rid of that person, moving on to somebody else, they're going to be fixed. But you're still carrying you with your stuff with you, especially if you're not working on yourself. So you're going to get a lot of these people that are around, men, got their trauma, their stress, and all this the history of all their trauma, and then you got the woman as well, and then they're coming together and they're triggering each other left, right, and center. That's why there's so many breakups, so many divorces and stuff as well. But nobody speaks about it in that way. And what the challenge you're going to have with somebody, I know we're talking about a lot about relationships, but it's relevant, is that you're fighting with the person's childhood. And if they are not admitting that they've got issues or they don't want to go and deal with it, they will be triggered, whether it's you or somebody else. And how they react is their stuff. Always remember that, because if you're upset about something, you need to ask yourself, where has this come from? Why is this hurting me somewhere? Where have I had this feeling before? And it's usually from childhood. So you're reacting to your childhood, not the person that you're with. But then we make that person wrong and we blame them, and then it just kicks off like that. Where all they need to do is get help, get some form of therapy. But then people think they're too proud and something's wrong with them to seek help. And with me, that's what helped me. I'm still having therapy now. I'm realizing, well, oh, geez, the reason why I dated that girl because and I knew she wasn't good for me was because of this, and this. I didn't realize that until I had my therapy, I think a session about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I thought it was this, but it's only when we went through the references from my past and brought it in, similar feeling. That's why I stayed that particular girl, and I should have left ages ago. So, but people don't want to deal with their stuff, unfortunately, because it's the fear. They don't want to deal with their demons, because it's easier to point the finger and say blame, and don't want to look. Don't want to look at themselves. Of course it is. And then they just move on to the next one and the next. We all know somebody that is a serial dating person, right? That's always got. Don't keep a relationship longer than 3 to 6 months, and then they got somebody else, and then they got somebody else, and then it goes on and goes on and goes on. As far as they're concerned, that person, they're not doing anything wrong. They're acting normal, because it is normal, because this is how their life has been, and nothing will change unless they change.
Right, totally. And with that, it is all about the self and taking responsibility for ourselves and our environment, because I think that's where the power is. It's difficult for people to change from the external to the internal, but once you do so, it's an easier trigger to take control of your life and ask those questions, which is what you were talking about, right? It's like, okay, what can I do, and etc. And that's what makes things really interesting. Now, going forward, I know this is going to be your last event coming up. What is going to be your next change? Because I know it's very samey for you, and you want some different challenges. So what are those different challenges to come up?
This is my 15th and final women empowerment event, and I'm launching Desmond O'Connor shoes. I'm combining shoes with personal and professional development. So a woman gets a pair of my shoes.
Hold on. Let's go back. How do we go from Desmond O'Connor, who's the man that changes, women's lives and empowers them, whatever, and then we've gone into shoes? Is that an acronym for something? Or are we talking?
No, I'm talking stiletto heels. At the moment, there's 10, but the top 6 at the moment. Each shoe has a name and a theme. Achieve, courage, energy, impact, influence, and the love shoe. So I'm going to be working with salons and aesthetics companies, promoting the shoes within their salons. But it's not about the shoes. The shoes is the hook. The end result is that the woman will be able to improve her life personally and professionally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because she will have access to a Netflix style learning platform where she can improve her life. As an example, this could be the platform here, where she goes on and she clicks on here and she wants to hear 2 men talking about relationships, understanding women. She clicks on that, she's improving her life by having free access to that. So
okay, before we get into that detail, I want to go back to that. So you've now thinking to yourself, I've done this enough, I've done these platforms enough, I'm coming to number 13. I want to do something different. What, when, and how did that change for you to think about shoes? Or something close to that? What happened? How did that transition take
it always comes from somewhere, and I think that I was the kind of boy growing up. When I was growing up, I would buy my girlfriend shoes, lingerie, dresses, lipstick, and all that kind of beauty stuff, because I used to think it was important for a man to know your woman's shoe size, and know your woman's shoe size, and know her dress size, whether she's a 10, 12, 16, 18, or whatever she is, and have an idea of what style of shoes, clothes that she likes. So I suppose, on reflection, I was always meant to do this, because I always had that eye for beauty. I always have that eye. There's something about how a woman looks. From a man's perspective, if she's wearing flats towards a stiletto or heel, she looks more confident. She looks more stronger, and she looks more sexier as well. There's something about it, just makes her look slimmer, fitter. Legs look better, and there's some shoes that just make that woman look so much more attractive. And I think I think about 2015, round about that time, I used to just keep posting pictures of nice shoes on Facebook and asking the women's opinion. And a lot of women were, inboxing my on my Facebook, asking me they want the shoes. Here's my credit card. And I thought, that's interesting. Supposing it was my brand. And I knew about. I wanted to create my own branded shoes, but I wanted to do it differently. Anything that I usually do is usually different. I like to do things differently, because different makes you stand out. And I didn't want to be one of many. And I decided to. So I thought, how can I didn't want to just bring out shoes and leave it at that, because I've got loads of competition out there. How can I make mine different? So on top of that, they get online courses, they can improve their life. I'm bringing out a book next year, helping single women find love. When they go to the book, they can get a free pair of shoes. I'm going to be giving away free shoes, and there's going to be online courses on the back end of the book as well. So 10 chapters, 10 online courses to do that as well.
That's interesting. I've never heard it done that way. And so only you, O'Connor, could do something like that.
There are a couple of books that do it that way, but I wanted that book. I wanted it to connect with the woman on the book, but also giving them incentive. They get a free course, and they can get the, matching. And I'm actually doing matching handbags with the shoes as well. So I've had the shoes. The women have seen the shoes at my last 3 events. So all the shoes went round, and but I'm going to be working with women empowerment organisations and also salons, because I'm looking to hold some collaboration with them. So the salons will be able to be paid as they sleep.
What was the feedback when you showed your shoes off, just to get a feedback? Because that's obviously why you did it, to get some feedback before you started to really push and launch a year or so later. What was the feedback initially? And if there was any negative feedback, which I'm sure there was, because there usually is, what changes did you make to obviously get you to this stage?
The feedback was great, because I had 5 pairs of shoes that were being circulated in a conference, so every woman got a feel of it, and it went round. And I made some changes. That this was the last. These shoes that I have designed were designed before COVID, and obviously because the shoes are quite outdated, I'm getting them updated and changed. However, the negative feedback was that from the women that didn't like shoes with heels, and they were demanding that, can you not make any shoes that have flat shoes? But my target audience, that's like me saying I'm looking for women to speak on stage, and then you get these women that don't want to speak on stage. That's not my target audience. So what I will be looking at next year is looking at some possibly lower heel elements of that. I mean, not all of them are really high, but they're like nice, sexy, stiletto-y, classy shoes, and there's a market out there. Look up Louboutin and Jimmy Choo and those guys. The women out there, women love shoes, and it wasn't about the shoes. For me, it was about using the shoe as a hook. So then I've got them in with the shoes. They got their beautiful shoe, but when they put on, for example, a Achieve shoe, there's a story behind each pair of shoes. So when she puts on that Achieve shoe, she might be lacking confidence in certain areas of her life, but when she puts on that achieve shoe, she feels that she can take on the world. She feels that she can achieve anything.
Yeah.
So that's the story behind that, improving their mental well-being using these courses online from their device, from their laptop. They just click on there and there's an interview or there's an expert in there inspiring them how they can be the best version of themselves.
All right. Yeah. Okay. And where does this take place? So when have you got this all planned for this to really kick in?
Well, my launch for the first shoe is the Achieve launch, is on November the 30th this year.
Okay.
So the hotel got that confirmed yesterday, which was good news. So moving on, it will be November next year. One of the other shoes will be most probably round about this time next year. And then my book launch will be on September the 6th, combining the launch of the Love shoe, because one of my shoes is going to be called the Love shoe.
Wow. I'm curious. You never know. You may be getting to wear one of your shoes. That's really interesting, and I'm sure many women out there will be finding the whole package really interesting, especially coming from you, Des. There's no two ways about it.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to just say after we've talked about many things. We've talked about your successes, but more importantly, we've talked about the pain that you went through in the past and how you've come through that. And I always try to bring that on my podcast because it's all very well saying, yeah, it's successful, you do this, that, and the other. It doesn't work like that. You are successful because of the pain you went in. As you said, if you hadn't have gone through that pain, you could have been doing something else, which isn't a bad thing. But you prefer the life you're in now than you was in the past. So you have to, as my dad used to say, life is like a bowl of cherries. Without the pips, there is no cherries. And life is like that, totally. And your life has shown me that is amongst other people. And you've become a better you from your point of view because of those pain points, right?
Yeah, and I'm still work in progress as well. Still, I don't get it right all the time. No one does, but I'm still working. I'm still work in progress, and I thank all the people that gave me all that stress from when I was going through my divorce, and it's made me who I am today. And I'm just free from that all. I wasn't like that before. I was angry but now, I know where I want to go now. It's clear where I want to be getting to, and all these ideas, for the, what I've just told you about the shoe model, that's unique, and no one's doing that in the world, and it's going to be different, and I wouldn't have been able to focus on that if, after my divorce, it was very stressful going backwards and forwards in court and the arguing, and the minute that stopped, I was able to find out who I really was and what my purpose is and what I want to do, and how am I going to get there and what I need to do, and how I can manage my state and look at the things that are holding me back that I wasn't aware of. And that's how the therapy was really good. And I'd say to anybody out there, there's always an area of your life that you need to work on. And there's a saying, if it feels hard and painful, that's a sign that you need to deal with it.
Yeah. And there's I'm really glad, want for better words, that you did go through that pain, because at the end of the day, by doing that, you've helped so many people along the way. So I'm really glad you went through that, because you're happier for it on the other side. You're happier for it. But also, just as importantly, you've helped so many people along the way, one-to-one and in mass. And that's because of what you've had to really delve deep into and come out the other side. And it just solidifies to me how it is important not to forget that, yes, things are tough, but never to give up. You always keep on striving, because it's the other side where great things happen. Does that make sense?
Of course, 100%.
Yeah, all right, my man. Well, listen, how can people contact you? How can they get more information on everything you're doing for the future?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Just, Des O'Connor on LinkedIn. My website is www.desoconnors.com. Just search up Des O'Connors online. You'll be able to get hold of me. Facebook, is Des O'Connor, Desmond O'Connor. You'll be able to get hold of me there. Yeah, by all means, they're the platforms on social media. You can get hold of me. Go to the website, desoconnors.com, and you can book a free ticket to come to my up and coming events as well.
Great. And what I'll do is I'll link everything down below too, so everybody's got the information to get through to you, because definitely you're worth keeping in touch and actually seeing how this unique project goes. Even for that, I'm just curious just to see how this crazy project, right? No, but I'm seriously interested, so I'll be close with bated breath for sure. So I'll keep the information down below. But Des, thank you for being with us today, and really appreciate it. I mean, you made me smile and you've made my day, so thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And to everybody else, just to say sayonara to everybody. Sayonara.
231. That's the average number of apps used by many companies. This leads to a lot of context switching that can distract employees and costs your company. Luckily, Grammarly can help. Grammarly's AI works in over 500,000 apps and websites, making it easy for your team to crank out clear, on-brand emails, documents, messages, and more. In just one click, they can go from blank page to first draft, all without leaving the page they're on. Grammarly has 15 years of experience building effective, secure AI that can be implemented in days with minimal IT overhead. It goes beyond basic grammar to help tailor writing to specific audiences, whether that means adding an executive summary, fine-tuning tone, or cutting out jargon. Join 70,000 teams who save an average of $5,000 per employee per year using Grammarly. Go to Grammarly.com/enterprise to learn more. Grammarly. Enterprise-ready AI.